So on top of your day job, which often becomes a night job as well, the company's lease is expiring next year and well, it's your company, time to focus on office space. You've been working in this place forever, over 10 years, and it seems to work, right? Everyone looks happy. Plus, your landlord is saying they'll let you stay at the same rate you've been paying. So if you're relatively happy and can stay at about the same rate you've been paying, why not just renew your lease and avoid the cost and hassle of a move? The fact is, most tenants do end up renewing their leases in order to avoid the disruption of a move. Landlords understand this. They actually depend upon it to make most of their profits. And here's why. First, let's walk through the math to see why so many tenants renew. To do this, we'll compare a tenant's two possible outcomes. You renew or you move. If you renew, the rate will probably be right around what you've been paying. Let's say $27 a foot. Because the space basically works for you already, you may just need a few tweaks and touch-ups. Typically, the landlord will offer a modest improvement allowance with your renewal to cover all of the costs. $20 a foot will probably cover it all. So the math is very easy. A $27 rent with no additional out-of-pocket costs effectively costs you $27 per square foot. Now let's look at the cost of a move. The rental rate to move to a comparable building is probably more or less the same. You may find less or more expensive space, but there's no reason to assume a significant difference. However, if you move to a new location, the allowance probably won't cover all of your costs. To be conservative, let's say it costs you $90 per square foot to build out your space and the landlord gives you only $50. If you amortize the $40 shortfall over the lease term at 10%, you're effectively adding another $6.29 a foot to your rent. Viewing these two alternatives side by side illustrates why most tenants renew. If you stay, you pay rent. If you move, you pay rent and any excess building costs. Why pay $33.29 for something you can get for $27? Well, a tenant who doesn't even want to contemplate a move could in fact justify spending up to $33.29 to renew, because at that rent, they'd be economically neutral. Why go through the brain damage of a search process when you can simply renew at your current rate, right? Not remotely. You see, like in most business transactions, it's important to look at things from the other party's perspective. As a broker focused exclusively on tenant representation, we believe that the relevant inquiry is not just the comparative cost of the tenant, but also the financial impact on a landlord of having to find a replacement tenant when you leave. Let's explore the impact on your current landlord if you stay or move. As we did before, we start at the renewal rental rate, $27 per square foot. Note that if you stay, your landlord gets a huge benefit in the form of a relatively small paint and carpet allowance. As we said, you can probably do all the work you need for $20 per square foot. Amortizing this at a 10% interest rate over the term costs the landlord only $3.15. If we subtract the $3.15 from the $27 quoted above, we see that your landlord is looking at a net rent on the renewal of $23.85. But what happens to the landlord if you move? First, the new tenant will want to customize your space to its own needs, so the landlord will be required to fund a much larger TI allowance, like the one you were offered on a move. More like $50 per square foot, which, with interest, costs the landlord $7.86 per square foot over the term. Second, and this is a big second, the landlord will probably have to wait a long time to start receiving rent from the next tenant. In this market, it takes conservatively 18 to 24 months before a rent check is coming in from a new tenant. That includes time to find a tenant, wait for their lease to expire, build out a new space, and provide a significant free rent concession to induce a new tenant to come over. Again, being conservative, let's assume it only takes 12 months to start getting rent again. That 12-month vacancy effectively adds $4.88 per square foot of additional cost to the landlord over the term. And that's where the magic happens. Because if you take that $27 rental rate and subtract out the larger improvement allowance and the rent interruption costs, you see that your landlord's return on the next tenant will be only $14.89 per square foot. That's almost $9 per square foot less than it gets on a renewal. Why should your landlord make considerably more profit on you, a long-term current tenant, as compared to a new tenant? The fact is, the landlord could throw in that $20 per square foot paint and carpet allowance and charge you $18.04 and achieve the same return it gets charging a new tenant $27 per square foot. So what is market for your renewal? If you're willing to pay a premium to avoid a move, but your landlord is ultimately willing to accept a meaningful discount to keep you from doing so. That's a complicated question, but ultimately it's a function of who has the better alternatives or fears their alternatives more. If your landlord isn't worried about you leaving, you're going to pay a premium. If this makes sense to you, please give us a call so we can help determine how valuable your lease is to your landlord. When you're facing a lease expiration, let us look at things from your perspective. Site Selection Group. No landlords, no conflicts.